All right, guys, we're starting a new thing. We're going to interview, and we're right here now. First one, interview industry experts, program managers, project managers, directors, VPs, everybody out there who are in the field doing things. Now, the reason why we're doing this is to give you insights into like what it's like in different industries, different jobs. So today we got Jacob. Jacob and I, total transparency, went to the same college, but we don't know each other from Adam. Like, right? So, Jacob, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what your job is, and let's just see where this goes, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Scott mentioned, Jacob Henschel, I work at a company called the Collins Aerospace, which is in the aerospace and defense world. Been here for my entire career. So I got out of the academy in '05, doing the Navy Reserve kick. But progressively, as I moved in, my current role, just jumping around within Raytheon previously, and now Collins Aerospace, focused in on kind of the program management realm, getting exposure to engineering aspects, getting an exposure to supply chain aspects, and then most recently have been working on kind of front end of the business and front end of the product life cycle for program management, touching a bunch of different aspects and I guess I could say ended here in terms of being able to be that PM or associate director for program management.
That's awesome. So there's a lot to unpack there. So you're an engineer by like in education and trade, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So when I started, I got a Bachelor of Science in Logistics and Intermodal Transportation.
very
Did a
good.
lot of sustainment, kind of back end product life cycle type of stuff. So if I look at, hey, once everything's pushed into the field, what do I need to do to retrofit to make resets or kind of make some updates to existing fielded systems? So I started in the engineering world. Rolled over to supply chain, realizing that anybody within the program management world knows that material runs the business in terms of
Yeah.
being able to get it from various suppliers. So I went into that organization to try to figure out how and why kind of suppliers have challenges, how they interact with bigger companies, and then of course rolled into program management, doing a bunch of different roles within program management.
So as we break it down, like you mentioned, like project management, program management, like working on supply chain and stuff, like for those out there, you're in the
Yeah,
defense industry, right? Like
yeah.
when you guys say program management, what does that mean? Like what's the job about?
Yeah, so I'd say I'm the CEO of my individual program or product that I'm offering. So if I look at it, I handle everything from me proposing to a customer that says it's going to cost me this much to build it or to go field it, all the way through me closing out a contract. So when I talk about a program management from my side, I'm looking at I'm managing my overall business. So I'm interfacing with various kind of organizations and functions, being finance, contracts, business development, the sales department, the sustainment department, kind of overseeing the entire aspect of what makes, how are we going to make this successful, and what's our strategy and end goal going to look like as we go off and deliver this product or deliver this solution to the customer.
It kind of feels like inside of a large organization, Collins and Raytheon,
Yeah.
that you're, like you said, running a business. It's entrepreneur. It feels entrepreneurial in the way you're
Oh, that's,
kind of like. Is
yeah,
that
absolutely.
rightish?
Yeah, no question. It's I think you kind of make it what you want, right? So there's some people that definitely are kind of held by the processes and procedures. But with anything, as a program manager, you have a good feel and appreciation, at least in my world. I've
Hmm.
had a good feel and exposure to different things, so I know which processes I can go tailor to be
Okay.
able to, make it the best for my individual product, right? Because of course, at a big company, you're going to have kind of a standard process, but as you bake it down to my individual tiny program, hey, what makes the most sense for the end goal and what my customer is looking for, and then how do I change and kind of adjust our strategy and our approach to be able to deliver, right? And if I look at an entrepreneur, that's exactly what you focus on is how to adjust to the customer set.
Now you said like your little program or whatever. How many? And you're smiling. Like little is different for different people.
Sure.
Like don't give me numbers, but just what are we talking here? It's like how many people are you interacting with? Like how like what kind of scope are we dealing with ish?
Yeah, so it's varied, right? So when I first started in the
Mhm.
career, I was dealing with 5 to 10 people. I've been
Mhm.
dealing with over 100 plus, for several years. Where now it's great. I don't necessarily have direct engagement with every single hundred people, but I have my
Right.
kind of direct reports or direct key members or leads that I focus in on. So all in all, you're really focused in at a program level of 5 to 10 key folks that you're actually honed in on and like talking to on a daily basis, and then they're parceling it out to the broader organization that all feed back into your program, right? So 5 to 10 kind of key focus, key personnel, key areas that you hone that you're attentive to, right? It depends on the phase of the program. It depends on the needs of the program. The customer, will kind of drive, where your focus is one way or another.
Do you have one program going at a time, or are you spinning up a business, a program, getting it rolling, getting it stable, and working a backlog or a pipeline to get another one go? How does it work?
Yeah, so it all depends, right? So more often than not, it's somewhat of a rolling wave where I'm working on
Mm,
multiple programs at a given time. Some of them are smaller than others. The intent is that we try to maintain, and when I talked about those 5 to 10 key folks, being able to have those same folks across each of the individual programs, particularly when you talk about building different products and kind of having a product family that are very
mm,
similar in nature in terms of technology. So it's kind of what you make it. There's certain
yeah.
times where I can't have the same folks working on both programs. So I have a 5 to 10 key people on this program, and then 5 to 10 key people on that program. So it's all just based on a dynamic of which program and the life cycle that you're at in the product.
That's awesome. What kind of like this is exciting and enlightening for me, and I'm sure everybody else. What kind of is it supply chain folks, product folks, finance folks? Like what kind of folks are we dealing with ish?
Yeah, so in my world, right, so aerospace and defense, contracts
Mhm,
is key, right? So we are working with the
mhm.
U.S. government and other, foreign military customers. But contracts is a key aspect in terms of, hey, what are we signing up to? That's a key one. Finance, like with any program management, you got to make sure that you're tracking cost and schedule, and that's coming from the finance team. I have an engineering lead because no matter what I do, we're a technical company in nature. So I have an
Yeah.
engineering and kind of technical director that says, hey, what am I doing right? What are we doing wrong? Where do we want to bring the technology to? I think those would be kind of three key focus areas. Of course, the
Mhm.
supply chain team, realizing that I have a large supply base and a large material procurement side. So kind of those four key areas, and then there's bits and pieces that are sprinkled in, different functions within engineering, but those would be the four key areas.
That's awesome. Now, you've been doing this for a little while. Like when you look back potentially and you're like, oh, that was great experience that helps me out now. Are there specific things where like a lot of people want to get into the perfect job? And like what are the things that you realize in the past that might be like it was a tough experience, but it's paying off now. Is there anything in mind that like helped you be good now?
Yeah, I think at one point in time, somebody approached me saying, "Hey, how do I become a PM?" And there's no
Mm,
real track to become a PM.
right.
In my mind, what I did when I early on in my career, in terms of my engineering background, my supply chain background, getting exposure to different aspects of the business and getting exposure to different portions, I think was a key aspect in terms of what allowed me to be successful in program management because of the
Mm,
fact that I looked at it that says, hey, what makes a program manager tick? What are some of their challenges? And I tried to be exposed to some of those key areas, right? So if I look
mhm,
back, my key area would be supply chain, realizing that
mhm.
I've mentioned it a couple times, but material runs a business and runs a
Yeah.
program. So being mindful of some of the challenges that organization had, I can then be appreciative of that and be empathetic towards that when I, as a program manager, are interfacing with my supply chain lead, saying,
Mm.
"Hey, what challenges are you having, and what can I do to help?" And hey, have you considered this because I sat in their seat at one point in time.
What do you love about because Collins and Raytheon in the past, like what do you love about the industry? Like what's keeping you in the neighborhood?
So key aspect is just kind of giving back to the military, right? So my brother's in
Hmm.
the air is in the Air Force. I had the Navy background. Just being
Hmm.
able to give back. I didn't go active duty and do a full career
Right.
in the military. So being able to give back to the military, giving back to those soldiers and those warfighters that are out there, I feel like a sense of pride touching back to it that says, hey, this helped them. No fault of any other industry. It's just that's my personal tie back to it and kind of what gets me excited to come to work every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you're looking at like, or let me ask two questions. What's the normal next path? And maybe there's not one.
Yeah.
What's your title now?
So I'm an associate director for program management.
Mhm. What's the
So
next
it's
kind of like paths up usually for
Yeah,
y'all?
yeah. So after that, kind of director, vice president, those types of things. It's right now I'm managing, as I mentioned, a couple different programs. The idea would be is that as you continue to grow, you're managing a portfolio, right? So you're
Ah,
managing a bunch of program managers or a bunch of directors that hold on to each of those individual programs. So it's continuing to look at the more I'm going to say growth I become is more strategic centric that says, hey, where do I
Uh,
want to bring the business 5 years, 10 years from now? And what do we need to do today to be able to position ourselves to do that? By owning an overall portfolio of products and solutions that says, hey, where does the customer set go? Where's the US government going? Where are the foreign military customers going? And kind of playing off of that. So any growth from here is really centered in on not necessarily day to day, but more so kind of their strategic, hey, what's next and where do we need to go from here?
that's awesome, man. And like, I imagine, I could be wrong, that you see people above you that are really successful at those higher level jobs, those strategic, those bigger jobs. What do you see in them? And you might have already talked about this, but what do you see in that you're like, I think that's what makes them really successful? Are there skills or characteristics or something that makes them shine?
I think communication is first and foremost, right?
Okay.
Being able to know the audience that they're talking to, whether they're talking to me as an individual PM or talking to the
Mhm.
CEO of the company, they
Mhm.
realize the audience and realize the message that they need to get across accordingly. So I think a key aspect, no matter who I look at in the organization, are very
Mhm.
well articulated and are able to speak the truth, in a way that makes sense for the audience that they have. Um,
Mm.
I think the other aspect is just a street, I mentioned it, but a strategic vision, and being able to look at the big picture. I think a lot of times as a PM, you get bogged down in the day-to-day operations and the tactical aspects, but then
Yeah.
being able to take a step back, saying, okay, what am I doing today, and how is that going to strategically impact me later on? The vision that they have and kind of their approach to things is fascinating. I think those would be the two things, being the strategic vision and the comms. So,
That makes sense. And a
yep,
lot of, I don't know who's going to listen to this, but there's a lot of people that I know will who are in a developing part of their career. Like
yeah,
we all are, but like as they're developing up and they might go, goodness me, like I've looked into college, I never knew about college. I'm looking into it. It's a pretty sweet place. I love the passion that this individual talks about. It seems like the mission is there. I love it.
yeah.
When you're looking at individuals, whatever level, to be in, your organization, like what kind of characteristics or skills or anything else stick out to you? Is there anything that like you would want in an individual, maybe not you personally, but in generalities that
Sure.
you think help?
Yeah, I think overall, if I'm going to find somebody that wants to go into the PM world, you got to be that self-starter. Scott, you
Mm,
mentioned it, kind of an entrepreneurial type of aspect. Being able to like walk in the door and say, hey, there's nothing on my calendar in terms of meetings. So what should be my focus area today, or what concerns do I have? And being
mm,
able to kind of apply yourself and knowing that you're not always going to have the answers. So either A, go find somebody who does, or B,
yeah,
go research it and create that answer for that next group. I think it'd be a key aspect of just being able to continue to push the envelope as that self starter, and then just the broad experiences. No matter what, I think being exposed to different things. We all have our different kind of upbringing, but the experiences that they have personally as well as professionally are going to drive what type of PM they're going to be, or program manager that they want to become. So
that's awesome, man.
yeah.
Do you miss Kings Point?
I do. Yeah, it was kind of a love-hate relationship. I loved being
Yeah, I
there.
got the same.
Some of the challenges, right? But it's a cool experience. Friends of mine now that their kids are actually going and being able
Oh
to
gosh,
share my story with some of their kids is really cool. Just to say, hey, it definitely set me on the right path to be able to be where I'm at today. That's for sure.
I agree. Well, we don't want to go in too much inside baseball for those that don't know Kings Point. But if you don't know Kings Point, look it up, dude. It's the best place in the world to be from, not maybe
Absolutely.
at. So,
Yeah, correct. That's
so
that's
that's
a good
cool.
way to put it. I like that, Scott. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And so yeah, the 4 years in the snow, but sea year is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. Well, Jacob, I really, really appreciate. I don't take too much of your time. Hopefully, we can talk again. I really, really appreciate you giving an insight into like Collins, the program management world, your path up, and giving a lot of like sage wisdom for people that are on the march. So like dive in there, get those experiences, work on those communication skills, drive, you've team and the entrepreneurial kind of aspect within the bigger organization. Like those are things I will take from this. So I appreciate 1,000%, man. I hope we talk
Yeah,
again.
absolutely. I appreciate the time, man. Thank you very much, Scott.
Yes, sir.